We welcome you to Husky Stadium here in the city of Seattle, Washington. This the final day of competition in the Pac-10 Conference Track and Field Championships. Hello again, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, and we welcome you to Seattle. You know, you think of track and field as a warm weather sport where the heat brings out the very best in these fine athletes. Not so today here at Husky Stadium. Temperatures hovering, I would say, right now in the mid-50s, and there is a brisk wind blowing off lake behind us, and that right at the moment would be in the face of the sprinters. Now, it could turn as the day goes on, but right now, not very favorable conditions. And I can tell you this, the only people that are going to be wearing shorts are going to be the athletes. Parkas will be the gear of choice for those in attendance. Alongside a couple of people who know what they're talking about when it comes to the sport of track and field, Carol Lewis and Tony Revis. And Tony, let's talk about the men's side first of all. It has been dominated in recent years by UCLA.
Barry, they've won 5 of the last 10, 8 of the last 10 altogether. They are definitely the favorites in the competition today as well. But USC is well positioned. They were only 4th last year, but they've got a number of sprinters, so they're going to really lead them toward that title if they can get it. Jerome Davis, a sophomore, he won the 400 last year. He went to Sydney, Australia, and he also took the silver medal at the 400 meter in the World Junior. He's that good an athlete. Now, UCLA, their field eventers are really their strength, and yet they've got a young man from Eritrea in Africa who is also doubling at the 5 and 10,000 meters. He is the national leader in both those events, and yet he's got the Hauser brothers out of Stanford on his tail all day long. So those 3 teams look to be the ones that are going for it, so we got ourselves a horse race.
All right, Carol Lewis, let's talk about the women. UCLA has dominated there, too, until last year. Right now, as we start the second day of competition, UCLA a big edge, but the best is yet to come for USC.
The best is definitely yet to come for USC. Tori Edwards, as a freshman, she was the 100-meter and the 200-meter champion last year. This year, she is back and ready and in position. But again, you talk about the team championships. You talk about multiple events. We've got Joanna Hayes from UCLA. She has entered in 4 events today: the 100-meter hurdles, the 400-meter hurdles, the 100-meter relay, 4x100-meter relay, excuse me, and the 4x400-meter relay if they need her. These athletes are ready to go, and they know they have got to do it in all of their events if they expect to win. But again, we also have in the field events Amy Acuff. She's going 4 for 4. It's her opportunity to make history.
All right, SC, though, they get it done in the sprints, and the sprints are upcoming when we come back. We'll get started 4x100-meter relays for both men and women when we come back.
Before Infusium, I couldn't get my fingers through my hair. My hair looked like a fuzzball. And now it looks shiny, it looks healthy.
Infusium 23. It's the leave-in Amy believes in.
My hair was so damaged. It was like steel wool. And now it's shiny and smooth. Very surprised the first time I used Infusium.
It's the leave-in Jennifer believes in. Infusium 23 leave-in treatment corrects, restores, structurizes. After one use, hair looks healthy.
I control my hair now. My hair doesn't control me.
Infusium 23, the leave-in you'll believe in.
Now I am a believer.
Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody. Help, you know I need someone. Help.
Every day, millions of customers count on GTE people. GTE quality. GTE reliability. So if you think telecommunications have only complicated your life, there's one company you can count on for help.
Won't you please help me.
GTE.
Help me.
Amazing.
If you ask whether it's better to give or receive, I'm in favor of both. Either can change a person's life. I remember when I received a travel and training grant from the Women's Sports Foundation. The grant made me feel like people believed in me, believed that I could become a champion. It kept me going strong when I needed it the most. Now I feel an obligation to give back to other young athletes, which is why I'm telling you about the Travel and Training Fund. The fund will give a lot of serious female athletes the boost I got. It will help young women become their absolute best, maybe even champions.
If you're an aspiring athlete or know of someone who could use some financial help, find out more about the Travel and Training Fund. Write to Travel and Training Fund, care of the Women's Sports Foundation, Eisenhower Park, East Meadow, New York, 11554. Or call 1-800-227-3988.
Don't let anything stop you from trying.
Welcome back to Husky Stadium. This is the first event of our day in the Pac-10 Championship. Second day of competition here. Yesterday was in the 70s, today in the 50s. The women's 4x100-meter relay. Let's talk about favorites here.
Well, if you talk about favorites, you definitely have to look to UCLA and USC. As we said in our open, USC won this championships with sprinters, and that is one thing they do have. UCLA, though, on the other hand, they also have a very good team.
Well, they really do. The lane assignments are interesting. USC, who has got the two-time defending crown on their heads, they're in lane 1. UCLA in 4. And really the third standout team we want to look for is Washington State. They're in 5.
Well, they definitely have the best out of the lanes here. But, you know, you've got to run your race here. USC has an excellent team. They've run 44-43 this year. They know what they can do. And they have run against UCLA time and time again this year. And they're hoping that that lane 1 doesn't affect them too much.
Here are the World, NCAA, and Pac-10 records. Arizona State holding the Pac-10 record. They incidentally are not in this competition because of an NCAA infraction, so there are only 8 of the 10 Pac-10 teams competing. Oregon State does not field a track and field team.
Already it looks like the woman from USC has run over and had a little chat with the referee there for a second. Obviously something is not comfortable with her. But, you know, Barry, Tony, you have to look at the weather here. It's very, very cool, and it's going to affect the athletes negatively if they have to stand around too much in this cold weather. On USC, their anchor leg, Tori Edwards, has had an injured hip all year and hasn't run that well. Still one of the top runners in the country and definitely in the Pac-10. But, you know, this weather is really going to affect her.
One thing we should point out, when we were doing our open of this program just a few moments ago, the wind was blowing briskly off Lake Washington, which would have been in the face of the anchor runners here. However, right now, it's pretty much dead still as we look at the flag at the far end of the stadium, and just about set to go as the runners come to their marks again.
Tiny Gibson out of Inglewood, California. She's leading off for USC. Bissa Grant out of UCLA in lane 4.
Set.
And we're underway in the women's 4x100, and a very even start. That is Washington State making up a little bit of ground early in this competition. Otherwise, as we come to the first pass, it is Washington State makes the first pass first.
Sharika Higgins off the LaTroya Mucker. LaTroya Mucker had a very good day yesterday, setting a 6/10 personal best at the 400, so she's running extremely well.
And this race very close. A bad pass by USC. They're going to have to make up a whole lot, and I'm not sure at all that they can do it as we come to the anchor leg. And in lane 3, that is California right now with the lead.
And this is the kind of upset that USC simply could not afford to make right off the bat.
It is UCLA, not California, and UCLA is going to win it. Washington State second, and USC finishes in 3rd place. Bad pass between the 3rd and 4th leg, it looked like, for SC, Carol.
Definitely a bad pass between 3rd and 4th, and 2nd and 3rd, I think, was one on the backstretch, was the one that really affected negatively for the USC Trojans. You take a look at Darlene Malco, who anchored the race for UCLA. A great win for them, a great start to the day. I'll tell you, it comes down to baton passing. You've got to get that baton around, and I think the interesting thing is USC, I think, was pushed a little bit out of their game. Here they come in for their 3rd pass. Look, she glances back for the baton. That's Pam Simpson. You know, you can't do that. But again, I think they were really shaken a bit about being in lane 1. They're like, what's going on here? We're the #1 seed and we're in lane 1. You really, really have to stay focused. Even though after Pam got the baton, she ran well, it was not enough to make up.
So a big win, and unofficially 43.81, which very representative time.
Well, you know, those are 2 points that UCLA did not bank on at the start of the day. And, you know, they're the favorites coming in. They've been sort of ranked #1, #2 all year long, along with LSU in the nation. And so when they can come into this competition and say, okay, we're going to probably give this one to the Trojans, and now they take the victory without even extending themselves in that sense, because USC just didn't give them a run.
43.81 unofficially for UCLA.
Well, that's the fastest time of the year in the Pac-10. So that wind is obviously not affecting them as greatly as we may have thought.
Yeah, I don't think there really was much of a wind as we started that race, and as we speak here now, it starts to kick up a little bit once again, although it's going in a different direction than it did a moment ago.
Well, yesterday in the prelims, the wind started off in the sprinters' faces, and then as the day went on, it turned in exactly the opposite direction, so we can get squirrely around here.
And we mentioned earlier that it was very cold. It does not appear to be quite as cold as it was even 15, 20 minutes ago, and yesterday the weather was very much like that too. It started out cold, overcast. In fact, it rained in the morning. It wound up being a very sunny day, upwards of 70.
It was beautiful yesterday. Kind of day where if they could just bottle that, but obviously they can't.
Much of the joy of the Chamber of Commerce. They don't want any more people moving up here.
Well, Carol, what kind of pressure does that put on the rest of USC now? I mean, they get out of the box badly. Where does that leave them psychologically?
Well, it does leave them in a bad position because, you know, you're looking at the team championships. Here's your first event. You're number one going in, and you end up not second, but third place in that particular event. I think if you take a look at the girls here, they're probably sitting around thinking, uh-oh, what have we gotten ourselves into? But again, if you look at their anchor, like you're taking a look right there at Tori Edwards, number 335, she knows she has got to run 2 excellent races. She's got to win that 100 meters, and now she really has to win that 200 meters. And the person that is going to run with her in the 200 meters is Andrea Anderson, who was on that UCLA team. Now it's much more important for her to run well.
Well, just look at her body posture and just the way she just kept tapping that baton on her thigh. I mean, that's just a nervous energy. And so, oh my God, oh my God.
Let's take you back for just a moment now to one of the field events held a little bit earlier, the pole vault competition here in Seattle. And again, with this gusty wind, I would have to think that really plays havoc with this event.
Yeah, Scott Slover now, he is the national leader in the pole vault. He was only 6th at the indoors. A little train at the airport ran over his pole. He didn't know about it and broke it. That was his 3rd attempt, 17.4.5, and he was psyched about that because he had 2 real bad 2 attempts early on, and that again, the wind was playing havoc with these guys.
And once again, we should point out this event held earlier, and you can see a little bit different weather conditions.
Poland's Piotr Pacharski, he was 3rd in the long jump before he went on and won the pole vault.
17.8.5, the winning vault for Pacharski. Slover finishes 2nd at 17.4.5, and Dominic Johnson is 3rd for UCLA, for Arizona, 17 feet 3/4. We welcome you back. We start the men's 4x100. This should be a very competitive race, I think, Tony.
We've got 3 teams that we want to look at. Again, USC, they got the fastest time in the Pac-10 this year, 39.44. The University of Washington, they're in lane 4, and Arizona in lane 2. So 2, 4, and 7 is who we want to concentrate on.
USC will start in lane 7. Washington, second leg, Ed Turner, an All-American, multi-event athlete.
3, 100, 200 long jump.
Gentlemen.
But you know, you have to say UCLA on the outside. They've got one of the best coaches in sprinting history and relays, John Smith. He always puts together a good team. They're on the outside looking in.
Marcus Hollowell, a freshman, leads it off for the Trojans.
Runners are at their marks. California lane 1, Arizona lane 2, Washington State 3, Washington in 4, UCLA in 5, Oregon in 6, USC in 7, Stanford in 8.
Set.
Fair start. Washington off very quickly in lane number 4. Pretty even race otherwise. Looks like the Huskies are going to make the pass first. UCLA making up a little bit also.
UCLA had a very outstanding leg from Brian Fell. He got the team out there. But in the purple is Washington.
Washington and USC. Washington might have passed first. Looks like Washington, USC, and UCLA as we head to the final pass. Washington will be on the outside, or rather USC on the outside, Washington in the purple. Washington makes the pass first. It is USC, Washington. Here comes UCLA. Washington still with the edge, now USC. It is going to be the Trojans. The Bruins will get there for second, and Washington finishes third.
Jerome Davis with that anchor leg, and that's how close we expected the competition to be. And Davis needed to come through. He's going to be running a lot of events today, and after what the women did in this 4x100, Davis really had to make sure that the Trojans took this one.
And did so in dramatic fashion on the anchor leg.
Well, they have to look at both of the Trojan teams. You know, the women were in lane 1, the men were in lane 7. They couldn't really see much part of the race. But at this point, Jerome Davis on the outside. Look how comfortable he's running. He said, you know, I can get these guys. It's no problem for me.
And a fine anchor leg for McElroy of UCLA also. Remember the UCLA football team and a great talent. And he made up a lot of ground to catch the Washington Huskies.
Well, that's got to be a big confidence builder for USC. They knew they could win the race, but they thought the women could win it too.
39.79 unofficially for the USC Trojans, and that will gain some ground on the UCLA Bruins. We're coming back.
Think of it. Nomo against Griffey. Beck against McGuire. Maddox against Ripken. Baseball like never before. Interleague play hits Fox Sports Northwest June 12th.
We all want it. We all want to fit in. To feel like we belong. We want to be a part of the big picture. It's human nature. And it's the same, it's exactly the same for the athletes of Special Olympics. It's their dream, in fact. Not just to hit the farthest or run the fastest. Not just to win, but to belong. And because of the training Special Olympics gives them, because of the confidence it instills, they do belong. On the field and in life, they belong.
It fits.
Special Olympics, it's training for life.
Barry Tompkins, Carol Lewis, Tony Revis back at Husky Stadium in Seattle. We're ready now for the women's 1500, and a clear-cut favorite here, I think it's fair to say, Grazina Pence of USC. I think the scramble is probably going to be for second, third, and fourth.
We expect very tight competition all the way through, and after, again, what happened with that 4x1 on the Trojans to lead things off, I think it's going to be up to Christy Johnson, a sophomore, to race Alyssa Reedy out of Cal, Stanford, Sarah Moore, Karen Knutson out of Oregon, because those points for second place, if we give the race, in essence, to Pence, who's got maybe 5 seconds on the field, those second place points will mean a lot.
I'll tell you one thing, Christy Johnston from USC, she got a lot of help because Mary Cobb of Stanford, she had an excellent time coming in, but she ran the 5,000, will not be running in here, and she was one person who might have knocked her out of second. Second place can be wide open. Remember, team competition, you've got to run through the line, and that's what these women will be thinking about.
Grazina Pence will start from the #1, lending new meaning to the term pole position.
A Polish native and a sophomore at USC. She's set a 5-second personal best this year in 1 year, well, this season. She's taken 10 seconds off her best this year, which leads you to believe that there's more time, there's more chunks of time that can come down.
So we look for a competitive race here in Seattle, and once again, the wind has died down. It is not a big factor. It remains a little bit chilly. I'm not quite sure it is as cold as it was when we began things, and we're underway in the women's 1500.
Well, you know, Grazina also has a lot of international experience. She was 4th in the World Junior Championships in 1994, and she's got some excellent personal records. She's run 2:03 for 800 meters, and she's run 4:12 for 1,500 meters. So basically, this is her race to lose. Again, the race will be with the athletes behind her, and you wonder what type of tactic they're going to use. If she goes out front and really pushes the pace, is Christy Johnson going to try to go with her, or is she going to try to stay in the back, or are some of these other athletes just going to really go out and run out too hard? It's tough to tell at this point.
Well, Pence took it out right at the beginning. However, now she kind of eases back into a close second place, running alongside Alyssa Reedy of California.
She won the first semifinal in 4:27 yesterday, so she's obviously running well. She's out of Mission San Jose High School.
Sarah Moore right now running in third place. The field pretty much bunched. Karen Knutson of Oregon up there on the outside in fourth. As you look at the women's 1,500 meter records, the world record by Ku Shunya of China, 350.46.
Yeah, if we want to buy that.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
Well, you know, right now I think it's going to be interesting. You know, in a time like this, when everybody obviously is watching to where everybody else is, a tactical race is looking like at this point. But you got to watch out when you're running in a tightly bunched pack right here. Every once in a while, feet can get tangled, people can start pushing around, and you know, this is a very important race in the team competition. You see 382, Anne-Marie Hobbs from Washington State leading the way right now on the inside.
Well, that lets you believe that it's a slow time. It's tactical. They're not pressing the point, obviously. There's other people going to run other races today, and they're going to conserve their energy. It's not a fast day to run with the wind swirling the way it is. And Hobbs has got a 4:29 personal best, so based on that, they're not running all that slick a time right now. Now, the times they would be looking for if they want to head on to the NCAA's, the automatic times 4:19.5, not going to happen. NCAA provisional 4:26.
So right now, the field pretty much bunched. Hobbs of Washington State on the lead, but not by much. Reedy of California in the blue in the middle. Knutson of Oregon outside, and Pence comfortably running inside, and right now in fourth place, but the leaders jockeying back and forth. Moore is up there from Stanford, and So too is Stacy Eskison of the University of Washington. Those are the leaders right now, but little to choose.
Well, you look into the back of the pack. Those are the two girls from UCLA. The two representatives from UCLA are in the back of the pack. So right now, USC is winning this small little battle right here. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of other athletes in this race they have to look for. Very important at this point that Christy Johnston stays to the front of the pack and tries to do as best as she can.
Well, there again, that's really the story of team competition, is the race within the race.
Well, exactly. Christy Johnson ran her personal best 4:21.84 just earlier this month. So from that standpoint, she's on the rise just at the proper time.
Reedy on the outside takes a very slight lead. Knutson second. Hobbs now dropping back a little bit as Sarah Moore moves up, and now Pence moves to the outside as we start the bell lap.
Well, Pence just said, okay, it's time for me to take my race. She was back on the inside, and you can't do anything from the inside. At that point, she was boxed in. What she said is, I am going to move to the outside, and I am going to move to the front. And it's interesting to see. She's leaving some of the other athletes, but where is Christy Johnston? She has got to pull up if USC expects to get the points they can, and she looks like she is.
But right now it is Pence's race. Knutson hanging in there, running on the outside. Reedy of California second, starting to come up now on the shoulder of Pence as they head into the last turn. Pence running very comfortably, very easily in first place, looking for all the world a part of a winner. Reedy is second, Knutson third. Christy Johnson right now is in fifth place with a lot of ground to make up. Sarah Moore of Stanford running in fourth place right now. Pence is going to win it.
At her ease.
And she takes a look over her shoulder. Oh, they're not going to get me. No way.
Reedy holding off Knutson.
Nice run for Reedy. Knutson finishing in third place. And then it is Moore, followed by Johnston.
Johnston in the points, but the two athletes from UCLA will not be receiving any points in this particular race.
A very easy, I think it's fair to say, 4:23.14 unofficially for Gerzina Pence. And seemed as though she still had quite a bit left in the tank.
It's about 11 seconds off her personal best.
So Pence is the winner of the 1500. She does so in handy fashion and puts some more points on the board for USC. We're coming back.
I'm Tom Hansen, Commissioner of the Pac-10 Conference. It is my pleasure to salute a group of companies which have joined with us to support the continuing success of Pac-10 student athletes. They are the corporate partners of the Pac-10, the Conference of Champions.
The Pac-10 Conference salutes its corporate sponsors, GTE, the official telecommunications consultant to the Pac-10 Conference, and Hertz, the official car rental company of the Pac-10.
Sports Foundation, championing women in sports. Call and see how far you can go.
The Pacific 10 Conference. Its academic and athletic excellence are as great as the area it encompasses. Stretching from the state of Washington in the northwest to Arizona in the southwest. Unparalleled in athletic success, the Pac-10 has won more NCAA championships than any other conference. The 10 members have been providing the best in quality higher education for more than a century. The Pac-10, the Conference of Champions.
So there's the winner of the women's 1500, Gerzina Pence of USC, 4:23.14. We mentioned that she had a lot left, and Carol, for very good reason, I think.
Definitely. She's got the 800 meters to come, and she is the #1 athlete there. Also, Christy Johnson, her teammate, also running the 800 meters. These women are looking at the team race. I've got another race to go. Don't expend too much energy.
After the first day of competition, the USC women had 40 points to make up on UCLA's women. That, however, in the great scheme of things, is not a whole lot.
No, it isn't a whole lot. And if you see right here, they just put on #1 and #5 in that women's 1500 meters, where the UCLA women did not gain any points at all.
So as we said, this team competition, very different than obviously an invitational meet or an elite meet of some sort. That this is all about not only first place, but second, third, and fourth. As we turn now to the men's 1500.
And we ought to have a real barn burner here.
I was going to say, very competitive race here.
A couple of Washington State Kenyans, Stanford's Jason Lund, Michael Stember. I mean, there's just great competition. Bob Kano out of Arizona, who's the son of the great Kip Kano, Olympic champion. Jason Lund from Stanford. He's just a junior, and he was third at the NCAA Indoors and beat Bernard Laggett from Washington State, who's really the favorite in the race.
Laggett starts on the inside, and we're underway. Laggett out very quickly.
He's a Kenyan, you know.
That's right. That's the name of the game, isn't it?
Very much. Yesterday in the semifinals, he won the first semifinal in 3:45, but he went to the front and then improved his position.
Well, you know, the thing is about this is these Kenyan athletes here, they've all run against each other. They know their technique, they know their tactics and all that type of thing, and they know there's a lot of athletes in this race who could conceivably run very fast. They want to get out, control the race, and then see how it unfolds.
We talked in the open about Mebratom Keflezighi from UCLA, the junior, who's the national leader at the 5 and 10,000. Well, here he is in the 1,500 meters as well, number 124, out of Eritrea. He's run 3:43.95, lives in San Diego.
And he is right up on the shoulder of Laggett as we get underway here. Here are the world NCAA and Pac-10 records, and of course quite a distance between Nordine Morsali's record and that of Rudy Chapa of Oregon back in 1979.
And just to keep in mind, the NCAA automatic qualifier 3:41.3 and the provisional 3:45.5.
That's Bob Keno moving up in the orange on the outside of Arizona. I'll tell you, he's got that Keno run to him. He looks exactly like his brother Martin, who ran earlier in Eugene in the Prefontaine Classic.
Eric Kamau also up there running on the rail right alongside Bob Keno. So the people who are supposed to be there are there. Keflezighi on the outside, Laggett on the inside, then it's Kamau on the inside, and Keno up on his shoulder. Ben Andrews of Oregon right now is in 5th place ahead of Mike Blair of California.
Jason Lund with the long blonde hair sort of back in the back middle of the pack is a kicker. He's out of Stanford, and as I said, he was third at the NCAA Indoors and also the fastest 1,500-meter anchor leg on the distance medley relay at the Penn Relays. So he's going to let the Kenyan set the pace, make his move later in the race.
Laggett and Keflezighi, and now it is Keflezighi.
Well, he's got to get away, doesn't he, Barry? Being a 5 and 10,000 meter man, he just cannot let it wait around.
We talked about Lund back there. I'll tell you, you can only kick if you're in the race, and right now he is not even in this race.
Well, he's starting to move slightly. He's in that second position in that second pack. He's got a lot of room to make up, though.
A whole bunch of room to make up as Laggett now moves to the outside of Keflezighi and takes the lead over again.
Classic Kenyan type running where you win from the front. As long as I'm in front, I've won the race. And Eric Keflezighi and Laggett essentially are fighting with one another for the win at this point in their minds.
And Kamau running very comfortably, it looks to me, Tony, in 3rd place right now.
He is, but he's got a very short stroke. I don't know if he's the kind of guy that can really turn it up and kick at the end, but there is the move by Laggett. This is what he did yesterday in the prelims, and he just smoked the field after leading most of the way.
That is a big-time move. Kamau passes Keflezighi into the 2nd place. Keno moving up on Keflezighi right now. So it is Laggett in 1st place, his teammate Kamau in 2nd place, Keflezighi of UCLA in 3rd, Keno in 4th place.
You know, one thing, Keflezighi does tell you when he is tired. He starts to look down and struggle a little bit. Again, this is very much an under distance for him, as you see coming from the back of the pack.
Well, Laggett and Kamau, Washington State. The race we expected from Jason Lund out of Stanford never materialized.
But a big kick coming from Matt Pearson of Washington to finish 3rd, and that is going to gather the applause of the crowd here as Laggett wins it. Kamau is 2nd. And it was Bryce Newton, I beg your pardon, Bryce Newton and not Matt Pearson of Washington who got there for 3rd.
Well, he came out of nowhere. I think a lot of times when we said we were going into the last lap, you were saying how Keflezighi and Laggett were fighting for the lead right there. Sometimes fighting with someone that close beside you can take an awful lot of energy out of you. Obviously, it did not take a thing away from Laggett. He went away and went off to a win, and the rest of the field was left and behind.
Well, it's interesting, you know, we talk about USC, we talk about UCLA, and it seems that's almost all we've talked about. Washington State has positioned itself fairly well coming into the second day, and they finished 1-2 in the men's 1500.
John, you can't make her clean up all by herself.
Sure you can. That's why they're called the help.
But she's not just an employee. She's a friend.
Yeah, but the Mariners are on.
Who's pitching?
Don't miss Ken Griffey Jr. and the Mariners on Fox Sports Northwest. Home team's Fox Attitude.
I got this drill. Something I read Jerry Rice did. I catch bricks. Makes my hands strong. A lot of guys don't do this. A lot of guys don't make it to the NFL.
Scott Mitchell, Brad Johnson, and over 100 others have made it to the NFL. Watch tomorrow's stars today in the World League and see who's next. Watch exciting action weekends on FX. Fox Sports Net presents golfer Kelsey Grammer.
Seve Ballesteros, one of the game's greatest players, once said, "I don't trust psychiatrists. They're like golfers. All of them have a different answer to your problem." I find that just a little disturbing. Mr. Ballesteros, consider the gauntlet dropped.
Kelsey, your problem is your hands. It's your hands. Kelsey, it's defeat. It's defeat.
Kelsey, you're looking at the ball with the wrong eye. No, the other eye.
The First Plus Invitational, Saturday on Fox Sports Northwest.
Welcome you back. Here are the official results in the men's 1500. Bernard Lagat of Washington State wins at 341.98. Eric Kamau, 343.34. And Bryce Newton with a big finish, 344.14. That's good third place for Washington.
All NCAA provisional qualifiers there.
So that's the way it ended in the men's 1500. We turn our attention now to the 110-meter high hurdles final. And interesting enough, I think, over the course of years, the Pac-10 has been dominant in hurdle races, and this year there is no clear-cut dominance in this particular event.
Well, USC's William Arese, he's the African record holder out of Nigeria, leads the way with a 13.74. Keith Moten out of Cal, Los Angeles resident, he ran 14.01. So that's a fairly significant margin, but the times themselves are not nearly what's been run on this track or in this meet in the past.
Well, the cool weather is not going to help it at all, but Arese is number 11 in the United States right now when you look towards the NCAA. He is a great athlete. He's an exercise science major at USC, and he did represent Nigeria at the Olympic Games last summer. So this kid's got some international experience, and that always helps in a competition like this. You know to concentrate on what you have to do now, and you can move on to the next event and always keep moving forward.
Greg Foster, of course, the great hurdler out of UCLA, the Pac-10 record holder, 13.43, and we are just about set to go. Arese, lane 5. Competition should come from Moten, who is on his inside, and Meyer, who is on his outside. Underway, and Arese out very quickly. Arese with an early lead. It is Arese with Moten. Arese and Moten. Arese is leading. Moten is in second place. Meyer coming up in third place now. It is Arese who is going to win it, and Meyer and Moten. I think Meyer might have got him.
Moten was stumbling just about the whole way. Got himself out of sync about the third hurdle, and from that point forward was trying to get it back together. And just the way he was lunging at the finish line, he was fighting himself the entire race.
Well, Arese showed his experience there. You know, in a hurdle race, one of the most important things you can do is focus on your lane. You look to one side, you look to the other. People are smashing hurdles, arms are flying, so much stuff is going on. You have got to stay in that tunnel, which is called your lane, and focus on that. You know, you saw some white things flying up. That's sometimes these athletes are knocking hurdles, and they're breaking these hurdle barriers in half, but you have got to stay focused. Arese right in the middle of the track, right there, running very well. He's staying well within himself. He snips, you see the hurdle stuff is flying all over the place, but he is staying focused. You have to keep your body position very, very square.
Well, Moten's in the Northwest. He's chopping wood.
I'm telling you, he did tremendously well to finish the way he did. What would you say? He hit probably 5 of the hurdles.
He probably did hit about 5 of the hurdles, but the thing is, too, he's a big, tall, strong kid. And, you know, you look at Roger Kingdom. Roger Kingdom used to smash every hurdle, but, you know, you didn't want to get in front of him because he could smash a hurdle, but he would knock you into next week also. A big, tall kid, but William Aracey, he shows why he is one of the top hurdlers in the country.
Had the race won really before they got to the first hurdle.
Yeah, Ben Meyer ran very well. I don't think in his mind he thought he was going to be competitive with the Aracey, but I think he kept, like you were talking about, Carol, very well concentrated. He didn't let Aracey, he didn't run Aracey's race. He ran his own race, and his second place finish testifies to that.
Well, you know, I was a hurdler when I was in high school and college, and you know, sometimes when you're running next to someone else, you can almost end up running the exact same pattern and get stuck in someone else's pattern. Aracey didn't do that today, and Ben Meyer did not do that either.
That's a very good second place finish for Ben Meyer. 14.35 to finish behind Aracey, 14.02.
That's his seasonal best by 5/100ths. It's almost like a dance if you start running somebody else's race.
Let's take you back to the field right now, and in the men's shot put competition, something of a surprise, actually, the way the competition went this time around. Wade Tift, who was the defending champion out of UCLA, had the best mark in the conference this year. And the Scream didn't quite get it done.
No, he was number 4 in the nation. Had a 61.11.5 coming in, just didn't get it done. Finished third. And Travis Haynes out of UCLA, he had a 61.10.5.
We talked about the Cougs, and they finished 1-2 in the 1500. Well, they finished 1 in this event, the shot.
Ian Waltz was not an upset. He was 61.7, so they were all quite close together as far as coming in. But Waltz had the day. Haynes and Tift just never found their game.
So again, a good result for Washington State in this team competition. And the Cougars hanging around. It is, we should tell you, very difficult to get running team scores. We are doing our best to get that done and try to keep you up to date as to exactly how the competition is shaping up as we turn our attention now to the women's high hurdles. And once again, it is going to be UCLA's Joanna Hayes, who you would have to point to and say, here's the favorite, Carol.
Definitely. I mentioned her at the top of the show. She has a lot of work to do today, but she is very well capable of doing that work. Joanna Hayes in lane 5 of UCLA. She has been running so well. She's from Riverside and only a sophomore. She competed in the 96 Olympic trials, and she has run 13:20 this year. But also look to Bisa Grant. She's a junior from UCLA. She had a hamstring injury last year and really slowed herself down, but she's got a lot of experience, and she has run 13:26 for 1997.
USC will pin its hopes on Natasha Danvers, who will run alongside Joanna Hayes. She'll be in lane number 4, and Miriam Chamba, who will be in lane number 5. So 2 Trojans surrounding the favored Bruin, Joanna Hayes.
Danvers won the second semifinal. Hayes won the first. But Natasha Danvers is chasing Hayes everywhere they go in the 100 and the 400 hurdles.
Well, it's almost United States versus Europe because Natasha Danvers is from London. She is a freshman there, but she is running very well. Provisional times in both the 100 and 400 meter hurdles, and she was a European and World Junior finalist in this event.
And once again, you talk about international competition. There's nothing that replaces it.
No, definitely not. Marion Chamba from Brussels, Belgium. She was a national junior champion indoors and out there, and she was 5th in the European Junior Championships. She is also a freshman. USC's got some years to go in the women's hurdles.
So 2 of the Trojans, 2 of the Bruins, the favorites in this event.
Also, take a look, excuse me, Barry, at Dee Buzzy from Arizona. She has also been running very well. She's had a big year. Dropped her time to 13:21.
And lane number 3. So it's Buzzy in 3, Danvers in 4, Hayes in 5, Chamba in 6, and Bisa Grant in 7. And we are on the way. Very even start. Bisa Grant got out well. So too did Hayes. And it is Hayes with the lead now. And Hayes with a big lead. It is Hayes running ahead of Danvers. Hayes, and here comes Grant. Hayes, Danvers, and close for 3rd place. We'll call it Buzzy.
Boy, did Hayes ever had it smoking today. The wind absolutely died down just before the start. Good even conditions in which to run, and she just took advantage of it. She was a sprite over those hurdles.
Well, I'll tell you, I think right now we can almost say the race is over because Miriam Chamba did not finish the race for USC. She was one of the favorites. If you look at Joanna Hayes, she knows she has done what she had to do, and she knows now she's got to focus towards the 400-meter hurdles. Again, Joanna Hayes ran away with that race. Natasha Danvers from USC did a good job. Bisa Grant, UCLA, did a good job. Dee Buzzy from Arizona did a good job. Marion Chamba did not finish. You see, Joanna Hayes got out very well. She was out from the start of the race. She has it well in hand. She nips her leg right there, but it did not stop her. Look how focused she is on running forward. It's important to see, as you see Chamba on the left side of the screen, out of her lane, out of the race.
Put a box over the head of Hayes, and it doesn't move the entire competition. That's when you're on form.
Absolutely. I'm not quite sure what happened to Chamba. It looked like she just might have rolled an ankle or something and stepped into the other lane.
Well, it's actually interesting to see, because what usually happens is you kind of nip a hurdle and you're trying to get back in it, but you land coming out of the air. You can twist an ankle a little bit, and it throws you off for the next hurdle.
Very good win for her. Danvers finished second, and a good finish by Dee Buzzy. I'm quite sure she got there for third, ahead of Visa Grant. We're coming back.
Go, Grant! Get out, baby. Go, D.
For Infusium, I couldn't get my fingers through my hair. My hair looked like a fuzzball. And now it looks shiny, it looks healthy.
Infusium 23. It's the leave-in Amy believes in.
My hair was so damaged. It was like steel wool. And now it's shiny and smooth. Very surprised the first time I used Infusium.
It's the leave-in Jennifer believes in. Infusium 23 leave-in treatment corrects, restores, structurizes. After one use, hair looks healthy.
I control my hair now. My hair doesn't control me.
Infusium 23, the leave-in you'll believe in.
Now I am a believer.
Math, a four-letter word, right? Hey, you don't need that.
Why design the world's newest chips?
When you could be flipping the world's oldest burgers. Hey, wait a minute. This is math. Geometry, algebra.
No pocket protectors here.
But you're cruising without math. Yeah, right. Take a good look.
That's math staring back at you.
It's not a problem, man. It's an answer. Call NACME. We'll tell you what you need to do.
I fell off a swing. I just got hit by a baseball, that's all. I was playing with matches.
One of the most grueling events as you look at the results in the women's 100-meter hurdles, and Joanna Hayes, 13.04. Natasha Danvers of SC finished second, 13.55. And Dee Buzzy of Arizona did get there for third. We talk about demanding events. This is one.
This will get you coming down the home stretch like pour the cement in. Andrea Anderson, UCLA sophomore, 53.02. She leads the Pac-10 in this. She's in lane 5, and she is definitely the favorite. Asha Yayasinga from USC. She's going to be somebody to contend with, and somebody new also from Washington State, LaTroya Mucker. She went from a 54.56 to a 53.90 in the semifinals.
So running well right now as you look at the records in this event, and the world record, of course, Marita Koch, 47.60, and the Pac-10 record, Kamara Jones of Oregon.
An automatic qualifier is going to be 52.5, and Anderson, I know, would like to get that because she's got her only a provisional at this stage.
Well, Andrea Anderson was from Long Beach Polytech. You know, all those years, those women were just leading the country as high schoolers. Well, she was a 100 and 200-meter specialist while she was at Long Beach Poly. She's at UCLA, and guess what? She's running the 400 meters.
Well, you start talking about the great athletes out of Long Beach Poly, and the list is endless, men and women. And we're underway, a fair start and an even start. Anderson making up a little bit right off the bat. That's Anderson, who's just made up the stagger on LaTroya Mucker of Washington State already.
Yayasinga in 2, also running very well.
And also Darlene Malco of UCLA.
Well, you know, Darlene Malco let Andrea Anderson get away from her a little much. She said, you know what, I can't let her get that far out on me, and she just rolled her up a little bit down that backstretch.
She really did. There's little to choose between these two as they make the final turn. It's going to be Anderson now stretching it out a little bit over Malco, but those two with a pretty good-sized lead over the rest of the field.
Malco, of course, did the anchor on the 4x1, but she's got something left coming home, and this is where strength takes over in the 400.
Two UCLA competitors going to be close. Anderson and Malco. Malco going to get her as Anderson ties up. Malco wins, Anderson second. And in third place, it looked to be Carolyn Jackson who got there.
51.73 unofficially, a very fast time.
A very fast time, but you know what that said in that home stretch? It said work on your running form. The most important thing in the 400 meters coming off the home stretch is keep your arms and your legs pumping forward. Andrea Anderson, I'm sorry to say, has horrible form. Her arms are stroking across her chest, and at the end of the race, when you're tying up like a drum, you need your arms to be pumping so you can get your knees up. Obviously a very fast race. All of the women in this race affected by that really quick time.
Well, you talked about the concrete in the legs, and you saw a lot of it there.
See Anderson on the outside. Look how she's switching back and forth. You see Malco, she's driving her arms forward, driving her knees forward. Anderson knew at that point the race was over.
Terrific race for Malco. Very well-run race. She let Anderson take it out very quickly, which is sometimes tough to do when that runner who does take it out quickly is running outside of you. So Malco is a winner at a good time, 51.73.
If you thought Rob Dibble was intense before, watch him now. Rob Dibble brings you Major League Baseball, only on Fox Sports News at 6.
Sports Foundation, championing women in sports. Call and see how far you can go.
Breeze drop. He looks, he throws down the middle. Up by plate.
The Seattle Seahawks, continuing a proud tradition of service to the community with Seahawks Sunday in the Central District. June 1st at Promenade 23 at the corner of 23rd and Jackson from 4 to 6:30 p.m. There'll be food, drink, lots of entertainment, and a chance to meet the players, coaches, and Seagals. It's Seahawks Sunday in the Central District. Be there.
Here are the results of the women's 400 meters. Darlene Malco with a terrific race, 51.92. She was the defending champion, but still by far her best performance of the year. Andrea Anderson tied up coming down the stretch, 52.58. Carolyn Jackson of Arizona, 53.51. A nice run to get the third. As we turn now to the men's 400, I would have to think, too, just for a moment to reflect back on the women's competition. UCLA has done extremely well, and while we don't have official numbers, I think it's safe to say UCLA has this one pretty much in hand.
What USC had to do is maximize its top performers because it doesn't have the depth of UCLA. Once they started to slip it, beginning with that 4x100, they were going to be in trouble, and it looks like it's going downhill from that point forward.
Let's turn now to the men's 400, and again, a very quick field. Jerome Davis of USC will be running in lane 3. Alongside him, Damian Allen of UCLA. And alongside Damian Allen, another Damian Ortiz of Arizona. Those are the three fastest, and they will be able to keep, at least from the inside out, they'll be able to keep an eye on one another.
Well, Allen actually beat Davis in the semifinal because Davis really wasn't going all out. He was trying to protect himself for the day's work he had ahead of him today. And Damian Ortiz out of Arizona won the other semifinal in 46.81. Jerome Davis, though, we saw him early on in that relay. When he needs it, it is all there for him. In the UCLA-USC meet, he won both the 200 and the 400, plus anchored both legs of the relay. So when they call on him, he's got a lot in the tank.
He's there.
Well, Davis is the number 9 time in the United States when you look at the NCAA list. And the thing is, there's no reason to run all out in a semifinal unless you're one of those athletes who is on the bubble. If you're one of those guys who's got to die for the tape to make the final, they're the only ones who need to run hard in a semifinal race.
Damian Allen of UCLA alongside him, a football player for the Bruins also, and a pretty darn good one.
He's a freshman, and I think also sometimes people want to beat the stud in the race just to get their mind straight for, I can do this, regardless if it's a semi or a prelim or what.
2 other Trojans on the outside lanes, Ray Carter and Michael Walton. So USC with 3 competitors in this and an opportunity to gain a little ground in the team competition with UCLA. And we are off. Another fair start.
Davis already automatically qualified for the NCAAs. That's a 45.6. He's run 45.42.
Davis with a slight lead as he comes up on Allen now. Looks like Davis with Allen in second place. Out in lane number 6 from Washington, B.J. Dawson has made up a little bit of early ground as well.
It's Ortiz in 5. He's still in position.
Looks as though it's Allen and Davis, and it'll all straighten itself out as they come around the turn here. Out on the outside, Michael Walton running pretty well right now, too. But it is Davis and Allen.
Sort of not Michael Johnson, but certainly an upright carriage, and he carries very strongly. No dying in this home stretch.
No doubt to the outcome of this one either. Ortiz is going to finish second in a very nice race in lane number 6 by B.J. Dawson to finish third. So it is Davis of USC, Ortiz of Arizona, B.J. Dawson of Washington finishing third.
45-15 unofficially.
I tell you, Jerome Davis probably wanted to look back and see how the other guys from USC were going in that race. Big points for USC here. The other 2 athletes from USC came in and got within the points. You could see their faces from where we're sitting. They were struggling, but they are taking a look to the inside. The 2 athletes from USC on the outside, Ray Carter and Michael Walton, they have got to get these points, but they already knew that their teammate, Jerome Davis, he had already done the job. They've got to get in for those points.
Well, Tony Rivers alluded to it, and I'm not trying to make a comparison to Michael Johnson, but just from a style point of view,
it's close.
Absolutely.
Ortiz snuck in there, I believe, for second.
And I believe it was the Washington runner, B.J. Dawson, who got there for third place. But a solid race, very solid race for Jerome Davis. Right now, let's take you back to the field and the men's long jump. This, of course, an event with which you are only slightly familiar, Carol.
Never seen it before in my life.
I know that. Hillary Mawindi of Washington State.
And Zimbabwe.
Probably an excellent jumper. Look at he has a very good run up. Hits the board well and does have very good extension. He came out to do a job and he did it.
25, 2.5. There was a wind swirling and it was a plus 4.5, but notwithstanding that, he's got work ahead of him today as well in the triple jump.
Mambo finishing in second place, 24-3, and Busharski, the pretty good event here, finishing third. Come to the women's 100 meters now, and this is an event that has been dominated in this competition by USC and Washington State.
Tori Edwards in lane 4, Essie Benyarko, those are the 2 favorites, both from Southern Cal. The question is, from the team standpoint, too little too late.
Yeah, I think so. UCLA has done just completely outdone USC so far today. As we take a look at the lane assignments, Heather Miller of Stanford on the inside lane 1, Sharika Higgins, Washington State lane 2, Atrina Higgins, Washington State lane 3. Then it's Tori Edwards with Essie Benyarko alongside her teammate, and Tamika Brown of Washington State lane 6, Tiny Gibson of USC lane 7, and Crystal Walden of UCLA on the outside. The race should be run in the middle of the track. Tori Edwards, Essie Benyarko alongside her.
And a red uniform may take this.
There's a good chance of that.
You just took a look at Tori Edwards from USC. She's been running very well. She's a defending champion, but again, she has had a hip injury, and that's played havoc with her training this year, but she is still leading the Pac-10 conference with the best time this year, 11:55.
The weather does to her. It might be tough for her to loosen up today, that hip problem. I can relate to that. And underway, and she got out very quickly. Edwards out very quickly. Benyarko alongside her. It's Benyarko with Edwards second. Benyarko stretching it out. It's going to be Benyarko who's going to win it. Coming up for third place was Tamika Brown for second. Tamika Brown of Washington State.
Benyarko ran a very good race. As you said, Tori Edwards did get out of the blocks very well, but that is only 1/10 of the race in this point. After that, she did not get her legs turning on, and you have to wonder if the weather was a factor. But Essie Benyarko ran an excellent race. She got out of the blocks and really looked good.
She was a powerhouse, and I think some power runners sometimes do better in the colder conditions. They've got more insulation on them. Sharika Higgins actually in lane 2 closed very fast for Washington State.
You see Benyarko in the middle of the track. She is up in her running form and running very well. Tori Edwards was leaning a little bit forward. You see she's struggling with herself right there, and that is one thing you can't do. As you see, Tamika Brown on the outside eases right past her in second position. Edwards might not even have gotten in third position.
I don't think she did. I think
fourth or fifth.
Tony's point is well taken. I think it was Higgins of Washington State, so very good finish for Washington State, 2-3. But let's take nothing away from Essie Benyarko. She's the winner and does so in impressive and easy fashion, 11.72 unofficially.
The Internet. Billions of miles of cable connecting millions of people, including some of the best and brightest minds in the country, the students and alumni of the Pac-10 universities. To advertise your full-time, part-time, or internship opportunity, contact your Pac-10 Career Center or call JobTrack online. 1-800-999-TRACK.
U.S. Bank and the Seattle Mariners have teamed up to present a youth clinic sweepstakes for kids ages 5 to 13. 20 youth baseball teams will be selected randomly to attend a special clinic conducted by Mariner coaches in the Kingdome and receive 40-game tickets for a game on Saturday, June 28th. Entry forms for the U.S. Bank Mariner Coaches Clinic presented by Fox Sports Northwest are available at all participating U.S. Bank branches in the cities listed. All entries must be received by May 30th, 1997. Live Mariners baseball will keep you tuned to Fox Sports Northwest. Follow Junior, Lou, and the whole crew as they head for home in 55 live and exclusive matchups all season long. Seattle Mariner baseball on Fox Sports Northwest is sponsored by your Western Washington Jeep dealers.
They're the kings of the beach. And hot new tandems are making waves on the AVP Tour. But can anyone slow down the Stephenson Loyola Express in Indy? Sunday at 4 on Fox Sports Northwest.
We welcome you back, set to go with the men's 100-meter dash. And this one, you can throw a blanket over these. This is going to be who's right on this day in these conditions.
Akin Ekaremi from Arizona, Nigerian. He's fourth last year in the Pac-10 100. He won the first semifinal. Jason Shelton out of Southern Cal. He's really in top form. He was second last year in this event to Otto Bolton. And he's somebody we have to watch very closely as well.
But top to bottom, nothing would come as a surprise if anybody jumped up and won this race. McElroy, UCLA lane 1, Edgardo Serpas of USC lane 2, Marcus Hollowell. Lane 3 is Jason Shelton. In the middle, lane 4, Akin Remy of Arizona. Lane 5, Jimmy Johnson. Stanford, lane 6, Willem Ryan of Washington. Lane 7, and Ed Turner of Washington on the outside. In lane 8. Here are the world and Pac-10 records, and Ado Bolden set that record last year.
Yeah, second place, Shelton last year ran 10:25 to Bolton's 10:03, so it was just a walk away. But Bolton obviously went on, medaled in Atlanta, so he definitely, this is where his confidence, I think, really started to build at this Pac-10 meet, because he was talking already about a potential gold in Atlanta after that 10:03 here.
Yeah, he was big time in his country in Trinidad. He was talking about how people had him up there with Hazley Crawford as the hero of heroes.
I apologize, gentlemen.
Well, we talked earlier, of course, and we're going to continually talk about the weather here. One thing these athletes have had a chance to do, they had a chance to run on their 4x100 meter relay. So they've had a chance to test out the waters here. But then on the other hand, they have warmed up. They are a little bit cold probably now because their uniforms are sweaty, and that means that the cool air is going to feel that much more cooler.
Yeah, you hate to warm up, cool down, they have to get warm again for another race.
You have to get warm again, but that's the whole realm of this Pac-10 championship, a team championship. You know you're going to be taking your clothes off 2 or 3 or 4 times.
In lanes 2, 3, and 4, we've got 3/4 of the Southern Cal 4x100 relay team in Serpas, Hollowell, and Shelton.
Runners are at their marks. It's also not only a cold here in the Northwest, it's a damp cold. It goes right through your body. We're set. And we're underway. Akinremi, a good start. Shelton alongside him. It's Akinremi with Shelton. Akinremi and Shelton. Now Shelton slightly in front. It is Shelton and Akinremi. Shelton very close. Too close to call.
With Hollowell in third, clearly.
Well, it's actually a very interesting race. If you sit back and you watch, and you can watch it over and over again in slow motion, it looked like Akinremi got out very well. Shelton came up beside him and moved a little bit ahead. Then Shelton dropped back. Akinremi pulled up, and he started to struggle a little bit, lose his form. Then Sheldon came on again, and then Akinremi, of course, was right there. So it's definitely going to be a photo finish there.
It is extremely close. Let's take another look at the start here. Akinremi got out very quickly.
As I explained that whole race, you think, did they have enough time to do all those things? But so many things happened. You see Akinremi struggling here. Now he's up in his running form. Look at Brian Shelton. Look how relaxed he looks. Akinremi actually running over. And that does happen in the sprint. You tend to drift to one side of the lane, the person that's beating you. You see right here, Akinremi looks like he's struggling a little bit. And then But it looked like he got an excellent lean there. When you look at it from the other side, it looks like Akinremi might have gotten a better lean. You know, Sheldon could have leaned a little bit better.
Well, what he did is he leaned up rather than
exactly,
out.
Then forward.
And Akinremi really timed his lean perfectly to get the maximum extension just at the line.
And he also dipped his shoulder, a la Gail Devers, who has won big competitions the last 2 times at the World Championships and at the Olympic Games, by dipping that right shoulder and getting it in there. Remember, photo finish, they're looking at your torso. It is not your head, it is not an arm or anything else, but it is your torso. Whoever's torso is over the line first, as Akinremi times his very well. But
put your money on, kids. Put your money on.
We're looking at the other side now. Now you look at this side, it looks like it might have been Akinremi. It looked like Sheldon might have gotten past him, past the line. Let's wait for the photo.
I think Sheldon got it. I think Sheldon was close.
He did more bench presses, I think, earlier this week. He got a bigger
If Sheldon wins, I win the bet. If Akinremi wins, I win the bet.
Wait a minute. Heads I win, tails you lose.
And that's why she's successful. So we wait for the results. And while we do wait for the results, the USC, that's the relay team right there. They're pretty happy about the whole thing. We don't know the official results yet. Let's go back and look at the discus competition that was held earlier today.
David Dumble out of UCLA. He was 8th at the 96 NCAAs, and he's ranked 5th nationally. But in this competition, all he could muster was 3rd place, 191.1.
His sister, of course, was a 2-time champion at UCLA, also in the discus.
Ian Waltz, saw him earlier. Here, he threw 188.10 coming into this competition, but actually won it. And again, more of an upset because he doesn't throw this discus as often.
I'd say that's pretty good competition for Waltz. He wins the shot, and he wins the disc. And they're going to say, roll of the drums, Akinremi is the winner.
Well, I mean, let me look at the
I think I recall saying Akinremi might have dipped that shoulder.
That's 1 for Carol Lewis, none for Tony Revis and Barry Tompkins. 10.26 unofficially. We're coming back.
Before Infusium, I couldn't get my fingers through my hair. My hair looked like a fuzzball. And now it looks shiny, it looks healthy.
Infusium 23. It's the leave-in Amy believes in.
My hair was so damaged. It was like steel wool. And now it's shiny and smooth. Very surprised the first time I used Infusium.
It's the leave-in Jennifer believes in. Infusium 23 leave-in treatment corrects, restores, structurizes. After 1 use, hair looks healthy.
I control my hair now. My hair doesn't control me.
Infusium 23, the leave-in you'll believe in.
Now I am a believer.
We want to see our children succeed. But setting easy goals for our kids creates the toughest obstacle they'll ever face. Because succeeding in the real world isn't easy. Help the effort to raise standards in America's public schools. Call 1-800-96-PROMISE.
Bank hours don't fit your schedule? If you need to cash a check, come to Money Tree. Our hours go well into the evening and we stay open on the weekends. Money Tree, your cash solution.
The M's lead the league in hitting, but they face Toronto and the AL's toughest hurlers. Monday at 6:30 on Fox Sports Northwest.
We come now to the women's 800-meter run. And this one, too, extremely competitive. We talked about the last race, the men's 100 meters, as being a competitive one. And this one has all the prospects of being equally so.
Well, we go back to Grzina Pence out of USC, the sophomore from Poland, ranked number 3 in the country at the 800 with a 2:03.82 best.
Doubling here, as is Christy Johnson of USC in lane 5.
Johnson was 5th again in the 1,500 meters. Alicia Buterball from Washington State, a freshman. Won one of the semifinals, and Vicki Fleschner from Oregon, a senior.
I think Christy Johnson is going to be a little bit more comfortable in this race. This is a better race for her. She is ranked number 17 on the NCAA list this year, so she might be a little bit more comfortable right now.
And she gets out rather quickly here as we start things.
Pence out in 7. She was 3rd last year in the NCAAs at 1,500 meters, so she's used to big-time competitions, and I think the way we saw her run the 1,500 and probably here at the 800 meters, she's very smart in the way she manages her energies.
Shayna Griffin is taking the lead here as the runners now get out of their lanes. Running alongside in second place, Vicki Fleschner.
And Griffin's run 2:09.47 so far this year, a junior out of Arizona. The times they're looking for as far as automatic and NCAA provisional, 2:05 flat for the automatic and 2:09 flat for the provisional.
So right now it continues to be Shayna Griffin of Arizona, Vicki Fleschner of Oregon.
She's second place in the second semifinal yesterday in 2:08.53.
Rosina Pence is running in third place.
And just absolutely walking.
You know, she's in a good position, but Christy Johnson, the other USC athlete, is not in a good position. She is stuck on the inside. It's Rosina Pence. She knows what she's doing. She has moved to the outside, and she is sliding right up. But look at Christy Johnson moving up and forth. She is going to try to hold on to Pence and stay with her.
She caught a break there, actually, as Zalika Davis ran up on her heels and had to move away from her, and that allowed Johnson room to move outside.
Fleschner just could not allow Griffin to do the leading anymore because it was just too slow, and if she had any chance to get into the medals, she knew that her effort had to be the push to pace, and she did, but Pence matched it very easily, as did Johnston.
So it looks as though it's going to come down to Pence and Johnston. Pence running on the pace right now. Johnston settling in behind her as they round the final turn.
She is just all potential right now. You can see her just little glance off the back of her shoulder to see where the competition was once again. So it's all just managed care. This is an HMO 800.
Absolutely perfectly run race for Brazina Pence, who will make it a double. Pence wins, Johnston second, Fleschner hangs on for third ahead of Griffin. And then it's back to Leah Manelli of Washington.
2:05.65, the unofficial clocking.
Well, that was a good race for Pence, but, you know, she's got a PR of 2:03.82. You know, she was just running. She said, I got to win this race. But, you know, it looked like she was looking back for teammate Christy Johnson. It was almost like she was saying, come on, Christy, hang in there. Hang with me, and you can get second position, and that is exactly what they got.
Well, to that end, a team effort. And let's take a look at the team scores as we have them. They would exclude, of course, this event, 15 for the men, 14 for the women. Let's take a look after 14 of the 22 events for the women. UCLA with a commanding lead, interestingly enough, Carol, not over USC, but right at the moment over Stanford.
Definitely. Stanford is running very well. Again, you look at a team championship, you look at this, there are points 8 deep. So it's not always who gets first and second. If you can't get 1 or 2, if you can get 4, 5, and 6, or 6, 7, and 8, you are still racking up the points. So every point is very important.
Look at Stanford. Last year they were in 5th position, only racked up 69 total points.
So a vast improvement for the Cardinal women.
And the Cardinal men also, as the year has progressed, have been one of the most improved teams of the Pac-10.
Here are the men's totals. This after 15 events, and UCLA with a decided lead over Oregon. Oregon building up some points yesterday, it should be understood. So whether or not they can stay there remains to be seen.
Oregon second in the finals last year as well.
USC 4 points behind Oregon. Still a lot to come from here at Husky Stadium on a dreary, overcast, and cold day.
Every day, millions of customers count on GTE people, GTE quality, GTE reliability. So if you think telecommunications have only complicated your life, there's one company you can count on for help. Won't you please help me? GTE. Help me. Amazing.
It's a thin line between newborn and stillborn, full term and premature, between healthy and sick. If you're pregnant or think you are, getting prenatal care early is the most important step you can take. Don't put your baby's health on the line. Take care of yourself so you can take care of your baby. Find out now about getting prenatal care. Call 1-800-311-2229.
The Pacific 10 Conference. Its academic and athletic excellence are as great as the area it encompasses. Stretching from the state of Washington in the northwest to Arizona in the southwest. Unparalleled in athletic success, The Pac-10 has won more NCAA championships than any other conference. The 10 members have been providing the best in quality higher education for more than a century. The Pac-10, the Conference of Champions.
We welcome you back. Barry Tompkins with Carol Lewis and Tony Revis. These are the Pac-10 Conference Track and Field Championships on a chilly day here. Am I being kind when I say that in Seattle?
Well, we got to give them credit. Yesterday was a just delicious day, and this one is a good time to be huddled up with friends. And we've got quite a number of people huddled up here at Husky Stadium to watch. These are track fans. That's one thing about track fans. They are loyalists.
That's true. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to find their stopwatches underneath all that material.
Isaac Turner in lane 1 out of USC. They call him their top guy on the track team. He's #1 on the college list in the nation at 800 meters at 1:47.15. He ran that at the UCLA-USC meet in Westwood on May 3rd. So he's at the top of his form at the right time of the year.
In lane 2, Bryce Newton. Michael Stember of Stanford, a freshman, will be in lane number 3. Luther Kopf of Arizona. Lane 4, Scott Kalanick of Oregon. Lane 5, Ryan Ullerman of Washington State. Lane 6, Tyrone Minnis of Washington. Lane 7, and Jess Strutzel of UCLA runs outside in lane 8. Sebastian Coe still the world record. Joachim Cruz, the NCAA and Pac-10 record.
Stember is freshman out of Stanford, Fair Oaks, California. He was the high school sensation of the mile last year, and he's made a real nice addition here to the Stanford squad. And next year they get Jonathan Riley out of Brookline High in Massachusetts, who is the Stember of this year, winning the national indoor meet that Carol and I worked in. So they just continue to develop that middle distance talent at Stanford.
Fastest qualifying time coming into this event. And we are underway. They'll still stay in lanes for a little more than half a lap. And as we get underway, Luther Kopf of Arizona making up some of the standard.
We expected a real return battle between Isaac Turner and Michael Granville out of UCLA, but Granville did not qualify as the second semifinal was absolutely slow, and all the qualifiers came out of #1.
So as they will come over right now, and it appears to be Jesse Strutzel of UCLA with Turner settling into second place, Luther Kopf in third place, and behind him Scott Kalanick of Oregon. Those are the first 4.
And Kopf was second in this competition last year.
Well, you have to know in a particular race like this, every athlete has to get out there and they have to set themselves up, put themselves in the position to win the race. It might not be a race you're comfortable with running, but you have to say, look, I've got to run from the front, I've got to run from the back or whatever in order to win this race. As you see Jess Strutzel of UCLA leading the way.
54 first lap. So Strutzel's got a 151 best, and again, you look at Isaac Turner, and he's like Pence. He's absolutely well within himself and totally controlled. There's Kopf coming up.
Turner running very easily, though, very smoothly.
Bryce Newton also coming up on the outside. He's the one that flashed into the picture at the 1,500 meters down the home stretch. And he's having another excellent day, an excellent race. It is in really good position. Stember with the long, shaggy hair. He's coming on the far outside.
He's got some ground to make up, and right at the moment, he looks to be very strong.
He's a kicker, too. But this is 800. He's more of a 1,500-meter miler.
He's coming hard, though. Turner's going to win the race. Stember trying to get there for second, tying up a little bit. And as you pointed out, Bryce Newton running another very good race. Will finish second for Washington. Stember finishes third ahead of Luther Kopf. No doubt about the winner. Very good race for second, third, and fourth.
Well, he went out very controlled. 54 didn't tax him at all. 147.85 is what they finish in unofficially. And again, he's a pro. And we talked to the USC people, and they just said he's the top guy on top form right now.
And showed it right there.
You know, the race, right there, if you look at this race, you think, gosh, there are 5 guys in contention to win this race. But when he gets to the 100-meter mark, it's almost like I said, set and shot the gun, because he immediately pulls away and says, okay, the rest of you bozos fight for second.
Well, second and third are just struggling. Stember as well in fourth. I mean, they're working it hard, and yet Isaac Turner is just full of running, loose as can be. Haven't even begun to manufacture any of that lactic acid yet.
Good-sized guy, Isaac Turner, actually. We've had a bit of a history of smaller 800-meter competitors, but he's tall, lanky, perfect form, running in form, and doing exactly as advertised, winning the men's 800 in 148.13 for USC.
Think of it. Johnson against Bonds. Wetland. against Piazza. Apier against Bankwell. Baseball like never before. Interleague play hits Fox Sports Northwest June 12th.
Win a trip or two to the final game of Copa America 97 in Bolivia on June 29th, courtesy of Fox Sports Americas, the premier 24-hour Spanish-language sports network. The grand prize includes round-trip airfare for two to La Paz or Santa Cruz, Bolivia, 3 nights hotel accommodations, 2 event tickets to the grand final of Copa America 97, and 1 Fox Sports jacket. Enter today at your participating local cable operator or call the toll-free Fox Sports America hotline at 1-800-390-8076 for details on how to enter. Hurry! Enter today. Let Fox Sports America send you to Copa America, the hottest soccer tournament in South America. Contest ends June 6th.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I had a chance to do football up here for about 3 years, and on a pretty day, there is nothing nicer than looking out the press box, seeing the good folks tailgate in a rather unusual fashion. They do it on boats here at the University of Washington.
One of the noisiest stadiums in the country, isn't it?
It really is. The sound bangs off of both sides. Even though it's open, you would think that the sound would disseminate off the open ends, but it doesn't, and it's brutal down on the field.
For the opponents.
Yes, that's true.
Especially.
That's true. And believe me, you cannot get a ticket. It is the toughest ticket in town. It's a tougher ticket, actually, than the Seahawks, believe it or not. It's always been that way. This city has really supported the college team.
Well, the Huskies have had more success, I believe.
There is that. And they expect the same this time, too. As a matter of fact, when I was doing games up here one time, and I gave a little talk before the season started, and they asked me how I thought this team would do, and I said, well, I thought they could be 8-3, and I got absolutely ripped because I didn't say they were going to be undefeated. Yeah. Take a look at the lane assignments as we prepare for the 400-meter hurdles for women. Christina Serrano, California, lane 1. Anika Black of Cal in lane 2. Tish Hennis of Oregon, lane 3. Natasha Danvers, USC, lane 4. Joanna Hayes, lane 5. Keisha Griffiths of UW in lane 6. Patrice Davis, Washington, lane 7. And Jamila English of California in lane 8.
And it's happening between Danvers and Hayes in 4 and 5.
Definitely, you look right back to the center of the track, the same 2 women that were fighting it out in the women's 100-meter hurdles. You see Joanna Hayes on the left side of your screen in the blue of UCLA. She is leading the conference right now, and she has been an excellent runner in the 400-meter hurdles. And you see Natasha Danvers of London, who has run 57.88 yesterday, and it's just been running excellent. But Joanna Hayes has 57.33 for the year, so she is the one I guess you could call the favorite. But then on the other hand, she is in the lane outside of Danvers, and she is able to see Hayes.
Big advantage in this particular competition.
Another brutal event. Kim Batten, the world record holder. Janine Vickers, the Pac-10 record holder.
Well, UCLA has had some excellent 400-meter hurdlers, so they know what they're doing.
Runners are at their marks. And we're off in the women's 400-meter hurdles.
Big congratulations to the starters today who have been keeping these races moving right along. We haven't had any false starts to speak of.
Not a single false start. Out in lane number 6, that is Keisha Griffiths, who has made up an awful lot of the stagger and running very well right at the moment for University of Washington. Griffiths of Washington with a pretty good lead right at the moment. Now, whether or not she can keep that remains to be seen.
And Danvers has got it on Hayes as far as making up that stagger. So Hayes has got a lot of work to do.
Hayes was really struggling. This is a race about timing. You have got to get your steps between the hurdles, and Hayes has been struggling today in this particular race, but right now it almost looked like she was waiting for Danvers. It was like, I don't know where Danvers is, so I'm going to let her catch up to me, and then I'm going to run my race.
Griffiths ties up, and Hayes is taking it over from Danvers.
And she has found her steps around the turn and down the stretch, and once she got herself back together, her speed carried her to the line as the victor.
So it is Hayes, Danvers, and Griffiths of Washington. And Griffiths had a very big lead. A little too much, a little too soon.
Well, Griffiths was running well above herself to be in the race with Hayes and Danvers. But I'll tell you, now that I look back at the race, that is exactly what Joanna Hayes was doing. She was in lane 5, Danvers was in lane 4. She was not comfortable being on the outside of her competition. So what she did was she waited for Natasha Danvers to come up beside her. And then she said, now I know where my competition is. Now I can start running my race. And in the beginning part of the race, Hayes was having a lot of trouble with her steps, but right here, they're running together. Hayes does not have the greatest of form over the hurdles, but she is very, very strong. She knows right where her competitor is right now, and now she can start letting it loose. You see Joanna Hayes, you see her face change? Look at, she said, okay, let's get down to business.
And then it was a sprint, and when it got down to that, it was no contest.
Yeah, two halves of the race for Joanna Hayes. The first one was a little bit rickety, and the second half, she smoothed it right out.
So another double, as we've had two women's doubles. Pence had a double in the 1500 and the 800. Now Hayes with a hurdle double for UCLA. Let's take it back right now. Look at the women's javelin competition. And Susie Powell of UCLA, normally known as a discus thrower, but did a pretty darn good job in this event, too.
You can see she's wearing a pad on her right elbow. She's had some elbow problems. In April, she threw the javelin competitively for the first time in over a year, got herself together, and yesterday set a personal best by over 4 feet, or nearly 4 feet, with a 179.2.
Sorry, just say, oh, thank you.
Well, you know, it's so frustrating when you know what you're supposed to do, but it's just not working. And when you finally get a good one, you can finally say, thank you. Where have you been?
So Susie Powell wins it, and she could be looking at a double also.
Yeah, she's going to go in the discus, where she is definitely the favorite in the competition.
Susie Powell and Amy Acuff, you were talking about this, Tony. They're roommates at UCLA.
That's a lot of talent in one dorm room.
I'm telling you. All right, with that, we're going to head out of Dodge. When we come back, the 400-meter hurdles for men. So don't go away. We've got lots more to come. The Pac-10 Conference Track and Field Championships. We're in Seattle.
I'm Tom Hansen, Commissioner of the Pac-10 Conference. It is my pleasure to salute a group of companies which have joined with us to support the continuing success of Pac-10 student athletes. They are the corporate partners of the Pac-10, the Conference of Champions.
The Pac-10 Conference salutes its corporate sponsors, GTE, the official telecommunications consultant to the Pac-10 Conference, and Hertz, the official car rental company of the Pac-10.
One of the reasons lions roar is to warn threatening bachelor males from other prides to stay away from their young. Here, a lion cub gets a lesson in proper roaring from its father. Teaching this behavior is not just crucial to the pride, but also to the survival of the species. Just a reminder how important it is for fathers to spend time with their children.
I fell off my bike. I got hit by a baseball. I tripped over a rock.
Barry Tompkins with Carol Lewis and Tony Revis. We are set to go now in the men's 400-meter hurdle final, an event that was redefined by a guy by the name of Edwin Moses. Took step fewer between, 3 or 4 of the hurdles, right? That changed the whole sport.
Yes, it did. And when you talk about steps, that's the most important part about the men's 400-meter hurdles. These athletes are virtually counting steps, and Edwin Moses was the first one to run around the track and get down to 12 strides between the hurdles, and that really, really changed the event. Because, of course, if you're taking less strides, you're moving a lot faster.
Well, Carol, if you get an inseam that's 40 inches.
Well, I guess that might have helped a little bit there. But we've got some excellent athletes here. Brian Fell out of UCLA, the sophomore, has run 51.47 this year. Kyle Dorsey, Arizona, 51.63, and Joseph Massoff of Southern Cal, who's also a senior. So the sophomore is sitting right between the two seniors, but he looks like the one maybe to beat.
Massoff's been sort of a surprise, even to his own team. He ran 51.67 yesterday, which was a seasonal best for him. And that's coming off a real good performance at the UCLA meet, where he ran a 51.88. But Fell and Dorsey won the 2 semifinals. Jeff Allen was second, one of the semis. So that's in 3, 4, and 5 with Massoff in 6.
And he looked at the records. Kevin Young, Matete with the NCAA record, and we are underway. Massoff with a very nice start.
Well, Massoff is only 5'9", so all of those things we were talking about, the 40-inch inseam, this guy has not seen that before.
Alongside him, Brian Fell starting to make up some ground. It is Brian Fell running extremely well right now.
But you can see him chop his steps. He really got lost between those hurdles. Now he's searching. He seems to be back on stride, and you can see by that lead that he's got.
He's got a very big lead. It looks as though Kyle Dorsey is running second right now.
You know, Kyle Dorsey let him get a little bit too far ahead of him. Brian Fell with not very good hurdle form, but he has the race well in hand.
And Dorsey lost his steps and lost ground in the process to Ben Meyer of Washington. So it is Fell with Meyer of Washington going to get there for second. But check that, Jeff Allen of Stanford getting there for second.
And third looked like between lanes 1 and 8, which is a English or Joyner out of Southern Cal in the far lane, and Muniz out of Cal in the California and Southern Cal. Cal in lane 1, Southern Cal in lane 8.
So the race really formed behind Brian Fell. Fell had the race won long about the backstretch, really.
Massoff completely frustrated with himself. You could see that look on his face.
And a very good finish for Ben Meyer, or rather for Jeff Allen of Stanford. I'm going to get his name right yet. And there he is.
Well, you know, Massoff was very frustrated, but again, this race is all about getting your step. As you see him stutter very badly right there. But the key that you have to do when you stutter is say, okay, so I stuttered. I've got to get right back in running form. But for Massoff, who is only 5'9", every little step he misses really, really messes up his form. And you've got to concentrate and get back on form. As you see, Fell in the blue in the middle of the track, the leader, he is just motoring towards the tape.
Well, it really is all about just momentum. And hitting that last hurdle, Kyle Dorsey, he sort of fell apart in that second half as well. So a lot of frustration behind Fell in this race.
And that resulted in some good finishes for a couple of other competitors, namely Jeff Allen and I believe it was, did you say DeJohn Joyner of USC, who might have gotten there for third place. We'll check that. Well, it was Muniz.
Muniz, he was back in lane 1 from Cal.
So Fell, Allen, and Muniz of California. Let's take a look back now on the men's hammer throw, which was contested earlier today. Again, one of the more difficult events, and an event that only now Americans are starting to rear their ugly heads, if you will.
Yeah, for a long time, just absolutely dominated in Europe, and finally we got some people. Judd Logan, I believe, from the East Coast. I mean, senior citizen in the competition. Tapio Klinsarka from Finland. Had a good year last year. Didn't really get it together much this year until this competition, and the smile on his face tells you why. He won it, Pac-10.
2:22.03 for Klinsarka. Bent Johansson of USC finishes second. Meantime, the weather conditions not real good for the finals of the Pac-10 Conference track and field. We're coming back.
Win a trip or two to the final game of Copa America 97 in Bolivia on June 29th, courtesy of Fox Sports Americas, the premier 24-hour Spanish-language sports network. The grand prize includes round-trip airfare for two to La Paz or Santa Cruz, Bolivia, 3 nights hotel accommodations, 2 event tickets to the grand final of Copa America 97, and 1 Fox Sports jacket. Enter today at your participating local cable operator or call the toll-free Fox Sports America hotline at 1-800-390-8076 for details on how to enter. Hurry! Enter today. Let Fox Sports America send you to Copa America, the hottest soccer tournament in South America. Contest ends June 6th.
We are set to go now to the women's 200 meters as you look out at Lake Washington on a dreary day here in the city of Seattle. It is cold, but the wind is not as great as it was earlier this morning when we first arrived here at Husky Stadium.
Barry, we should go back for a second, just say that Justin Strand out of Stanford, who was the collegiate leader in the hammer throw, fouled on all 3 of his attempts. Didn't even get into the finals of that competition. That was a really big upset yesterday in the field events.
Justin's thinking about football. Very fine player for the Stanford Cardinal, and they're going to be one of the Rose Bowl favorites this year, along with the team from right here in Seattle and that other team down in Los Angeles.
Hey, let's get to the 200.
Okay, sorry about that. I've done too much football talk.
Football stuff.
Tori Edwards, lane 1, and Trina Higgins, lane 2. Tracy Lawyer, Stanford, lane 3. Tamika Brown will be in lane 4. Andrea Anderson, once again from UCLA, lane 5. The winner of the women's 100, E.C. Benyarku, will be in lane 6. LaTroya Mucker, lane 7, and Tiny Gibson of USC in lane 8.
Interesting race here. Tori Edwards from USC, defending champion, is in lane 1. That might be a factor and just totally take her out of the race. But you got to look to the middle of the track. Andrea Anderson. Remember, she just ran that 400 meters, and I know she had a lot of lactic acid in that race, and you have to wonder if she got rid of it quick enough. And then you have Esme Benyarku. She won the 100 meters, is really rolling forward. I'm sure she is very confident in this race right now. She's been running very well. And tough for Tori Edwards. We said she's got a little hip problem, plus she's running on the inside. Very difficult lane to win from, all the whole races in front of her. Easier to run inside, I would think, that it would be to run outside.
Well, she struggled at the 100. I think it's harder because the tighter turn puts a lot more stress on that hip, and that's the problem she's got on that right side.
That's a good point.
Well, no major race has ever been won from lane 1 in a 200 meters.
Set, and we are underway. And little Chuz Benyarku out quickly. Also out very quickly is Tamika Brown. So it is Benyarku and Tamika Brown as they round the turn and head for home. It is Benyarku, the leader. Coming up now from UCLA is Anderson. It's Benyarku and Anderson. Now Anderson and Benyarku. It's going to be Anderson who's going to get it. Benyarku is going to finish second, and in third place, it might have been Tracy Lawler.
Well, I'll tell
Tracy Lawler, lane 4. Tamika Brown was in lane 4, and she looked like that was in third place.
I think that's right. It was Tamika Brown.
I'll take hats off to Andrea Anderson. She ran that tough 400 meters, ran faster than she has ever run before, and really struggled down the home stretch. You see, she is hurting right now, and she has a right to, but I'll tell you, it hurts a little bit less when you are the champion.
Well, last year, she earned this one because she's a sophomore this year. As a freshman, she was second in this competition, so she takes it up one notch as a sophomore, and now she'll probably try to go on to become a 3-time Pac-10 champion as her career extends.
At this point in the 200 meters, it's very important to try to be leading off the turn. That means the people behind you are going to have to work hard to catch you. You see Esme Benyarku is coming up on the outside. We take a look on the inside here. You see Tori Edwards in lane 1, the defending champion, really not a factor in lane 1. They just really hurt her at there. But you see right here, Andrea Anderson is holding her form a lot better than she did in that 400 meters, and she's leaning and lunging for the tape.
And it was Brown who finished third. Well, you were talking about in a shorter race, you can run with that type of form and still do well, and that's a good example of it right there.
And also, her form looked a lot better in that 200 meters than it did in the 400 meters, and I'm sure she took that race out in the 400 very strong, and it definitely showed what happened at the end of the race. But she got smart between now and then, and that's the whole idea. She's only a sophomore. She's got a lot to learn.
Yeah, when you're a big athlete as well, as she is a very powerful athlete, they have a tendency to tie up more than I think the smaller, leaner athletes.
Let's take a look at the team scores now after 15 events for the women, and USC has moved back into second place. Stranger things have happened here, but UCLA rather, with a rather commanding lead right now. Stanford with 97 points in third place ahead of Arizona. Then it's Oregon, Washington State, California.
Well, UCLA is going to have to give some back late, just like USC did early, in order to make this competition turn their way.
SC now leading in the men's competition after 16 events, and this one could come down to the last couple of events.
Well, UCLA, 5 straight championships there in the last 10 years. They are the dominant force in the Pac-10 on the men's side, but USC, again, everyone was talking about coming into this on day 2, they were well positioned. If their men struck gold at the right time, they could take UCLA.
Well, one thing you have to look at in a team competition is how many finalists you have. You can't really tell the day before. It's who makes the finals.
Well, and in fact, as we look ahead to the 200-meter dash, which is the next event for the men, there are 3 USC competitors and just 1 from UCLA. So a good opportunity for USC to pick up some ground. Here are some results from some events we will not get an opportunity to see. Josh Johnson of UCLA defeats Henrik Yaring of USC. How am I doing with that? by about 10 feet in the javelin and the women's long jump. Pamela Simpson of SC is a winner, 20 feet 11 1/4 over Grace Upshaw of Cal.
That's an 8-inch seasonal best for Pamela as well.
Neda Kawar in a mild upset defeats Salala Sua of UCLA.
There you see UCLA's points, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, all three of them, so they really dominated in that event.
John Pillow comfortably in the steeplechase. A great race there. Christian Belts and Micah Davis of Oregon.
Not much to choose from. That looked like a blanket finish. In the steeplechase, you don't normally see that. There must have been some stumbling and rumbling over that last barrier.
And what you do normally see is Oregon competitors up even more on the board than they are right there. That's an event that has been dominated by the Ducks. Incidentally, looking at Kate Upshaw is one of those things that makes me feel old. I remember seeing her dad compete. In fact, her dad won the California State High School meet all by himself one year. Why do I remember that? And who cares? In the men's 200 meters, lane 1, Marcus Hollowell running only for the first time at 200 meters in this competition. Damian Ortiz, and running very well, I might add. Jason Shelton of USC with something to prove now, having lost a very close finish in the 100. Jerome Davis of USC already a winner today. Ed Turner of Washington, Jimmy Johnson of Stanford, Jim McElroy of UCLA, and Akinremi, who was already a winner today at 100. So, again, an extremely competitive field here.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the middle of the track with Jason Sheldon, who was second in the 100, and Jerome Davis, who won the 400. Here we've got the long sprinter and we've got the short sprinter meeting together in the middle. And also, Akinremi is on the outside of the track in lane 8 and is going to try to do what he can do out there. He cannot see anyone in front of him.
And keep an eye on Ed Turner of Washington, also very proficient in this event. And Turner raises his hand, and we're going to have a momentary delay as you look at the world record. Michael Johnson, 19.32. That, of course, broken at the Olympic Games.
Joe DeLoach hold the NCAA record. He went to my alma mater, Houston.
Got to get that in.
Wrong conference, though. But
Jerome Davis has the fastest time of this field at 20.87. McElroy from UCLA is behind him at 20.95, and then Shelton and then Turner. But Akinremi has proved his mettle already out there today, and the only disadvantage, as you said, he's out on lane 8, so he's just got to throw all. He's not running tactically at all. He's not looking at anyone but that finishing stripe.
But I'll tell you, you're lucky you're in lane 8. You'd rather not be in lane 1, because when you're in lane 1, like I said earlier, no major race has ever been won out of lane 1. It's almost impossible. The centripetal force trying to get around that turn and get onto the straightaway. You got to work so hard to stay in your lane, you don't have anything left.
And in this race, it's Marcus Hollowell, who is a Southern Cal freshman. So you got inexperience, you know, and they need the points.
And running, actually, in only his second 200 right here. So not an easy task out of lane 1, but a very competitive field here. Davis lane 4, Shelton lane 3, and we are underway. Is Davis, who gets out pretty quickly. Turner of Washington also out quickly, and so too is Jimmy Johnson of Stanford early in this race. As they round the turn, it is Jimmy Johnson of Stanford with a slight lead. Now here comes Turner, but it's Johnson of Stanford. Johnson of Stanford holding on. Davis coming up. It is Johnson and Davis and Pickett.
Johnson and Davis, Pickett. Now let's see. The thing is that Davis leaned a little bit better than he did in the race earlier, but Johnson was out there, and all he did, in fact, it looked like at the line, was shake his head down. That is not the way you win these big races, especially when it's a blanket finish.
Johnson really kept his form coming down that stretch. Winning time unofficially 20.70. And now you got to look at Jimmy Johnson was ranked no higher. I mean, he had run a 21.38 coming in. So he had an excellent 100, excellent 200. So his form is turning out just ideally for these Pac-10s.
Let me tell you what happened with Jimmy Johnson. He came off the turn in the lead. He was in control of the race right there. All he had to do is run for the line. The rest of the guys looked over and said, what is he doing out there? They start to panic. They start to run. As you see, they're drifting over. And you see Jimmy Johnson on the outside staying in his form, and he is just running very well. I mean, how much pressure is it on this guy to hold out there in the lead?
Well,
I think he got it.
I definitely got it. That was definitely an upset. And at the end, you could see that Ed Turner was just beginning to fade at the end in third.
So an outstanding race, and maybe the biggest surprise that we've had today is Jimmy Johnson of Stanford, we believe, is a winner over Jerome Davis.
All right, you've got my Discover card statement. Well, I write, but a lot of people don't realize I make wonderful pictures, too. And what I do is I paint on acetate. with India ink. I went into Barnes & Noble one time and bought 3 books I myself had written. And I presume I got a royalty as well as the bonus from Discover Card.
How many credit cards make a statement like that? It pays to discover.
I think that's me.
Use it where you see the Nova sign.
The Nike Wild Rockies Mountain Bike Series, where the best races meet the best places in the Rockies. From first-time beginners to the refined pro racers, adrenaline-filled excitement is waiting for you. The Nike Wild Rockies Mountain Bike Series is brought to you by Nike, who encourages you to just do it. Along with Chevrolet, Albertsons, VO2 Max, and ProFlex. Call 1-888-TALK-TUBE. Live Mariners baseball will keep you tuned to Fox Sports Northwest. Follow Junior, Lou, and the whole crew as they head for home in 55 live and exclusive matchups all season long. Seattle Mariner baseball on Fox Sports Northwest is sponsored by Southwest Airlines.
We are there. Fox Sports. We are there. Fox Sports News. Everywhere. And are there.
Little more than 1 lap remaining in the men's 5,000 here, and UCLA's Mebratom Keflezighi has taken over the lead from Bernard Legat of Washington State. The Hauser twins of Stanford running 3rd and 4th, but right now it looks like a race between the Eritrean and the Kenyan.
And the Kenyan's more of a 1,500-meter man, and Keflezighi has not been able to get rid of him. We thought Keflezighi was going to double in the 5 and the 10. He didn't run the 10. He doubled in the 15 and the 5. Legat looks a little bit back and looks like he's got it. He's all over. And Keflezighi, this is what you can't do at the 1,500 that you can at the 5. Just apply pressure for a mile or lap after lap. And he's not putting away Legat until the final 200 meters with the 2 Hauser brothers, Brad and Brent from Stanford, hanging close by throughout the race with just not enough left in his final lap.
But it is Keflezighi of UCLA, and he's going to be an easy winner as he stretches it out over Legat. Then it is the Hauser brothers of Stanford finishing 3rd and 4th, and Stanford with Reeder also finishing 5th. UCLA wins it, Washington State 2nd, and then Stanford, Stanford, Stanford. We talk about a UCLA man winning here. UCLA woman won yesterday, and she did so for the 4th time in Pac-10 conference competition, Amy Acuff, and that is quite a mark.
Well, Amy Acuff is definitely the class of the field here in the high jump. She's definitely the class of the field in collegiate competition. But at the Olympic Games last summer, she blew her ankle out, and it was really questionable how she was going to recover. But she looked very good. Her first attempt at 6'2 3/4.
And this turned out to be the winning jump for the Robstown Texan.
You know, Amy Acuff is 6'2", and she is one of the athletes that looks more like the European woman. She has jumped 6 feet 6 inches.
Amy Acuff later had a chance to talk with Tony Revis about 4 straight titles.
It just really gives me a good feeling. I've been so fortunate to be healthy all 4 years, and just to be out here. This is a great meet, great stadium. I'm just happy to be here today. It's a special moment.
Well, take us through the competition itself. It's not an easy task to win this competition.
Yes, it was a tough competition. We had a lot of great foreign athletes and some challenges within the country, and it was a tough competition. On one hand, I'm really happy to repeat my championship, but on the other hand, I didn't jump like I wanted to. I felt it was a poor performance on my part.
There was some speculation that you might have been injured earlier in the season, but you say you've come through all 4 years uninjured. So that was just idle speculation?
Well, I'm really lucky about the way I get injured. I get injured in between the big meets, so.
Congratulations. Excellent performance.
Thank you.
So that's Amy Acuff. She wins the high jump competition amongst the women for UCLA for the 4th time in her collegiate career, and you can't do better than that.
Women's Sports Foundation, championing women in sports. Call and see how far you can go.
I believe she wants me to bunt.
Toronto's Aces will bring the heat against our Mariners. Monday at 6:30 on Fox Sports Northwest.
I don't need much. A little food. Not that little. Whoa, whoa. A little water. Some exercise. Some attention.
Nice doggy.
Places to see. Places to go. But most of all, a place to call home.
Fox Sports Northwest brings you wire-to-wire thoroughbred excitement all season long on Emerald Downs Today. For complete replays of the day's races and more, watch Emerald Downs Today Thursday through Sunday nights at midnight, exclusively on Fox Sports Northwest.
We're set to go in the women's 4x400 meter relay, and we will tell you that we did not get team assignments given to us by the coaches, and so we will guess along with you as to who might be running what leg for what team, but we can tell you about the teams: UCLA, Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and it is Washington State, Arizona, USC in lane 7, and UCLA, or rather on the outside, California. We are underway.
Well, Barry, that's not unusual because, see, again, this is a team competition, and we've talked about it all day. It's all in how you place your athletes in the race. So sometimes the coaches do not know who they're going to run. If the team is close to the front, they're going to put every horse they can find in the race. So that is why we are not sure at this point who is running the race. But Cicely Scott is leading off for UCLA. Nikedra Shagog is leading off for USC.
And was it Carolyn Jackson from Arizona?
Chicago of USC running extremely well, and Oregon started out pretty well, now tying up a little bit. Is USC with a clear lead as we come down to the first pass. USC, UCLA, Arizona in that order. And it'll be USC with the first pass.
It's Joanna Haynes taking the baton for UCLA. We know that, but USC is well out in front. But Joanna Hayes, a 400-meter hurdle champion, so she has got to be strong.
UCLA running in second place, and Arizona making up some good ground, moving into third. California in fourth place. Big lead for USC. Arizona's now moved into second place ahead of UCLA. California running in third, Oregon fourth.
Well, USC does have a 3:38.37 on the books this year. That's almost 2 seconds up on Cal in second for the Pac-10. Now, anything that will motivate them, and it looks like it's out of the shot as well, as the NCAA automatic qualifier, 3:33.5. So they're well positioned with the provisional time already. They really don't have the strong competitors behind them as a team, but UCLA is making some ground up right here.
So is Arizona. Both of them closing ground, and now it's very close at the third pass.
Well, they handed off the baton. USC handed off the baton to Christy Johnson. Second place in the 800 meters. Has she done some work today? She's run the 1500 meters. She's run the 800 meters. And now she is running the third leg for the Trojans in the 4x400 meter relay.
The way they started off by the 4x100 at the day's start, it's almost like they got 2 seconds up on the field here on the 1600 meter relay. And it's like that they're not making it, they're not getting it done here either. As Cal is now storming on the outside into the lead.
Huge move on the outside by California. So it's Cal, USC, UCLA right now, Arizona fourth.
So from no expectations to one of the best races of the day.
Isn't that amazing? Now USC comes back on to take the lead. Arizona's moved into second place. It is USC, Arizona, UCLA, California, and Oregon, with Knutson starting to make a little ground up as we come to the anchor leg. SC and Arizona make the pass almost simultaneously. UCLA in third place ahead of California. This is going to be close.
It's going to be close with unknown runners on the track.
Yes,
parents, if you can call our truck and tell us that's your son or daughter out there, please do so.
And And if it's your son, particularly tell us. See,
but I
this
do
is the
know.
women's 4x400.
Darlene Malco is moving up for UCLA in second position right now. And that's 2:24 for USC.
So it is USC, California, or UCLA, California. And it is going to be close. UCLA now has taken the edge. It is UCLA now pulling away from USC.
Malco anchored the 4x100 relay, does so the same in the 4x4.
So terrific performance for Malco. USC finishes second, California in third place. And it turns out, as you said, Tony, maybe the event of the day. We're coming back.
The Internet. Billions of miles of cable connecting millions of people, including some of the best and brightest minds in the country, the students and alumni of the Pac-10 universities. To advertise your full-time, part-time, or internship opportunity, contact your Pac-10 Career Center or call JobTrack online. 1-800-999-TRACK.
Fox Sports Northwest and Boeing announced the Boeing Youth Baseball Player of the Week Award. All baseball players under 17 are eligible to win a special trophy, tickets to a Mariners game, and an on-air salute from Fox Sports Northwest. To enter, send in your nomination with a picture of the nominee, birth date, and a statement why they should be considered for the Boeing Youth Baseball Player of the Week Award. Winners will best embody the spirit of our national pastime. Send your nominations to the Boeing Youth Baseball Award, care of Fox Sports Northwest, 3626 156th Avenue Southeast, Bellevue, Washington, 98006.
Day 18. Showered with bat.
Drove to ballpark with left hand only.
T-shirt inside out. Pre-game meal of chicken. Rubber band on right pinky.
Rub top of groundkeeper's head 3 times.
All right. Bring the cheese.
You're out! Socks! Forgot my lucky socks!
The Giants bring big bats and a bad attitude to Dodger Stadium. Thursday at 7 on Fox Sports Northwest. If you thought Rob Dibble was intense before, watch him now. Rob Dibble brings you Major League Baseball, only on Fox Sports News at 6.
How can you call them dumb animals when they know what some people don't? That physical activity is essential to a healthy heart.
You're watching Fox Sports Northwest.
Well, we welcome you back. Men's 4x400 meter relay. And once again, we are faced with a similar situation than we were the last time, in that we know many of the teams, you know, all the teams, of course, but we do not know many of the individuals because the coaches have not passed that information along to us. So we will try to pick out the athletes as best we can and tell you about what team is doing what as best we can. USC with a decided edge in this. They start in lane 7.
Well, you know, sometimes at the end of the competition, Barry, this is a well-kept secret. Who you're running in what position, anything having to do with this relay. This could be the difference in a championship for some of these teams.
Stanford actually has started out pretty well, and so too has California in lane number 1. Stanford and California both making up quite a lot of the stagger here early in this race. And outside, it's UCLA, and it looks like UCLA is going to make the turn first. USC running second right now.
Arizona coming on lane 3.
It's very difficult to see who is in what position right now in this relay because of the way the stagger is going. But UCLA hands off first, then SC, then Arizona.
Extremely close, actually. Jamie Allen on the second leg for UCLA. That we know. Aki Remy, who was the winner of the 100 meters, running the second leg for Arizona. And right now, as they come across and get out of their lanes, it will be UCLA, Arizona, California, USC, Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington State in that order.
You know, Barry, USC comes into this with almost a 4-second gap on UCLA and Arizona for best time in conference this year. But it's not playing out that way for USC on the men's side, just like it didn't so far on the women's side.
Very much so. It's UCLA the leader, Arizona second. Trojans making a late rush here to try to get up to third ahead of Washington as we come to the third pass.
Akinremi dying a little bit, as you'd expect for Arizona being a 100-meter man.
And that's Brian Fell for UCLA, the 400-meter champion. One thing you have to say about every day when you run some of your fastest times in the 4x400 meter relay. But USC is now moving towards the front.
Isaac Turner, 800-meter champion, Johnny Gray lookalike, eating up time, and now it's the 400-meter champion with UCLA in the lead, the 800-meter champion with Isaac Turner from USC in second coming.
And Turner is making up some ground on Fell here.
Well, he is 6 feet, 4.5, and those legs are churning. Those long, lanky legs are churning. This is going to be a dogfight.
Great anchor leg up coming, and they make the pass almost simultaneously. See if we can pick up who these runners are now.
Well, Jerome Davis would be the man I'd give it to, number 141, if I were USC.
That is who it is for USC. And Davis coming up on the shoulder of the UCLA runner now.
Now, of course, Davis won the 4 and got second in the 200.
It's number 126 for UCLA.
And Davis just blows by him here on the turn. They come off the turn now. It's still a horse race. It is Davis of USC, and Davis now pulling clear, and USC is going to win the men's 4x400 meter relay ahead of UCLA. Arizona finishes third, and it's Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington State rounding out the field.
3:04.76 unofficially for USC. An improvement by over 2 seconds for the UCLA squad.
And the third and fourth legs absolutely brilliant for USC with Davis and Turner running them. So we'll jump away as it looks as though UCLA has won the men's competition. The women's competition still there to be had, but UCLA has the edge there too.
Before Infusium, I couldn't get my fingers through my hair. My hair looked like a fuzzball. And now it looks shiny, it looks healthy.
Infusium 23. It's the leave-in Amy believes in.
My hair was so damaged. It was like steel wool. And now it's shiny and smooth. Very surprised the first time I used Infusium.
It's the leave-in Jennifer believes in. Infusium 23 leave-in treatment corrects, restores, structurizes. After one use, hair looks healthy.
I control my hair now. My hair doesn't control me.
Infusium 23, the leave-in you'll believe in.
Now I am a believer.
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone help.
Every day, millions of customers count on GTE people, GTE quality, GTE reliability. So if you think telecommunications have only complicated your life, there's one company you can count on for help.